All right, I'm sorry about that, y'all. I had to get everything right here. Therapy ain't no joke. Sean Garvey checking in with you on this Christmas Eve. If you are watching me in real time on Christmas Eve night, and make sure you like, share, and subscribe to our new YouTube channel. We do have a new YouTube channel, by the way, which is the Reach One Network. Actually, not well, we do have Reach One Network, but we also now have the Mental Space Network. So it's the Mental Space Network. You can make a note of it as I go along. But the Mental Space Network is our new YouTube channel. And just to give you a brief overview of what the Mental Space, I keep wanting to say Reach One Network because I'm so used to saying Reach One Network, but the Mental Space Network is our secondary YouTube channel outside of Reach One Network. And just to give you a brief overview of the Mental Space Network, it is a YouTube channel dedicated to all things considered mental health programming, including this show that you're watching, which is Therapy Ain't No Joke. We also have a few other shows that are already up on our Reach One. See, there I go. I did it again. Not Reach One Network, the Mental Space Network. I'm going to have it up on the screen very soon. On the Mental Space Network, there are shows like the Dominique Chantel Show and a few other shows that we're going to be ushering in to the new year 2026 as we help those shows complement the mission behind raising the awareness on mental health and the importance of getting therapy because we all, and I say it again, we all need therapy. So make sure that you like, share, subscribe the Mental Space Network just as much as you like, share, subscribe Reach One Network. So I don't want to overthink or people out here overthink what I'm saying. We have a secondary YouTube channel that is building. It's already out there. Therapy Ain't No Joke and a few other mental health therapy-based shows are already on there. Shout out to Dominique Chantel. Some of the shows that she has done for Honey and for Reach One Communications in the past are also archived on the Mental Space Network YouTube channel. So, just to be up to speed with the programming that you may have missed, or if you want to go back and watch them, they are all on demand on the Mental Space Network. Now that we got that out the way, and we're also streaming live on Facebook and on Instagram at Sean Garvey ATL, and of course on the Mental Space Network for the very first time in a while. I wanted to come on tonight on Christmas Eve, and I don't expect too many people to come on the live like we normally do with shows like Therapy Ain't No Joke and a few other shows that I co-host or host and produce in the past, due to the fact that tonight it is Christmas Eve night. But for those that are watching, I really appreciate it. This is the time of the year where people are with their families, with their friends, their loved ones. And in a few hours, it's going to be officially Christmas Day. So I do understand the lack of huge traffic and activity that I'm not going to be having on tonight's Therapy Ain't No Joke. But this show and this recording is going to be on demand for almost everyone that couldn't come on and join the live tonight to watch on demand on our Mental Space Network YouTube channel that I just mentioned, and a few other streaming platforms that you can get Therapy Ain't No Joke. And for those that are not familiar with Therapy Ain't No Joke, this is the show in which we talk about all things considered mental health in our community. But normally I am joined by my brother, my good colleague and friend, Rasta, who is heavily invested in the mental health community as a certified peer specialist. He too is with family at the moment, so he couldn't come on tonight's Therapy Ain't No Joke. He will be back on in future episodes in the near future, so be on the lookout for that. We're definitely looking forward to having him back on so he can continue to give us great insight, information, and his outlook on things, including mental health. And also be able to share more testimonial stories about his mental health journey. We've all been there, including me. And we're going to also have some major guests that are going to be on Therapy Ain't No Joke in 2026. We're going to have more than ever before. We have had some since Therapy Ain't No Joke started in the later part of 2024. But for those that didn't do their homework or don't know the history behind Therapy Ain't No Joke, this is actually an offspring to the mental space. And it's one of the reasons why I call the YouTube channel the Mental Space Network, is because a few years ago, when I was a board operator and a on-air producer at News and Talk 1380 WLK in Atlanta, and their sister station B103, I started a show called The Mental Space in 2022, and the show took off. I hosted the show for 2 years, and the show took off, getting a lot of great reviews from everybody, not just only my fellow or my former fellow on air staff and the people that I worked with behind the scenes, but people in the Atlanta community and outside of the Atlanta community just embraced the show, because there was actually a show where we talked about mental health. Mental health is still, in 2025 going into 2026, a hot topic for a lot of people that are dealing with mental health issues. And the show, like I said, took off to where it opened the door for a lot of great opportunities for me to be heavily invested in the mental health community. Now, just a disclaimer before I go any further: I am not a licensed psychiatrist. I am not a licensed psychotherapist or a therapist or a life coach and everything that is in the category of mental health. I'm not a licensed professional. I am, however, a mental health advocate. And you're going to hear me mention that a lot of times on this show and on other platforms and everywhere else that you may catch me at speaking engagements and events and even on other people's shows. I am a mental health advocate, among other things that I am very, very great at. So please be advised that you are not listening to a professional licensed therapist. You are listening to a mental health advocate. And what I want to encourage people to do, as always, and we usually do it towards the end of the program, is to seek immediate medical assistance or to seek immediate help if you are facing some form of mental health crisis, or if you feel like you are going to do harm to yourself or do harm to other people. Please seek immediate assistance right away, or call the number. We're going to have it up on our screen very shortly here. We actually have this, and I have it right in front of me here. There's so many ways that you can contact 24/7 services that are on standby, especially during the holiday season. If you are facing some type of mental health crisis, we have the National Alliance for Mental Illness, NAMI. It's short for NAMI. You may have seen it so many times on billboard signs and other places that you venture off to. But you can contact the National Alliance for Mental Illness helpline at 1-800-950-NAMI. That is 1-800-950-6264. Or you can send them an email to info@nami.org. And keep in mind that operation hours are from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, I don't know if they are still open today, since it's Christmas Eve. They might be. It's worth calling them if you right now are facing some form of mental health crisis, or if you are experiencing some type of suicidal thoughts, or you think you're having suicidal thoughts. I would definitely highly recommend that you call that number right away. And if you cannot call that number, if you cannot reach anybody at NAMI, there's another lifeline that you can call, and it is at the bottom of your screen there. You can dial the Crisis and Suicide Lifeline 988 if you or someone you know is facing a mental health crisis, like I just said. Again, that is 988, 3-digit number, easy to remember, easy to keep in your phone, and call them. They have operators, especially during this Christmas season, standing by 24/7 to answer your call and provide you with resources and to make sure they give you the help that you need immediately. Because again, so many people are going through it this holiday season. And it's one of the reasons why I wanted to come on and be a service to somebody that's watching and listening to me in real time, to know that it is okay to not be okay. And what prompted me to come on tonight, Therapy Ain't No Joke, tonight, and we haven't done shows in a long time because we are on a hiatus. We're still on a hiatus until the beginning of 2026. But what prompted me to come on the show tonight is, and I mentioned this on my social media. If you follow me at Sean Garvey ATL on Instagram or Sean Garvey on Facebook, I lost a colleague of mine that I've known for only a short amount of time. And I won't say who the man is and give you all some background history on who this gentleman is, just for the sake of family privacy. If his family or any of his family or anybody that knows him is watching this. But I got a call from a client of mine who have worked with this gentleman for almost a year. And like I mentioned, I've only known him for a short period of time because this gentleman that I was working alongside with and also had a number of conversations with, he came on board to the project when my client's former videographer departed ways from him and brought in this new guy who had a history of doing video work for other people. You know, he was very skilled, very professional in what he was doing. And so I remember speaking to him for the first time. He had a very humble voice, but he was also a person who was a straight shooter, let you know if you can do it or if you can't do it, and also even offered wisdom and knowledge about what he knew as a videographer. And he also does other things as well outside of what he does for a living. And so when I got the call from my client yesterday, because we were actually going to have a conference call later in the evening about some other stuff pertaining to his brand. And I got a call from him early than expected. I wasn't expecting my client's call to be so early, but I answered it anyway. And few seconds later into the phone call, my client tells me that this gentleman passed away. And for one split second, I thought it was a joke. I'm like, okay, what is this guy on? what is he on or whatever? Because like this cannot be true. And when I heard the pain and the sadness in his voice, I knew it wasn't a joke. He told me what all happened, and what was even more painful about the call was that this guy passed away days before my client got wind that he passed. So we had this project that we've been working on for a couple of months with him because he was involved in the project as well. This gentleman who I won't disclose his name at this time. But we were all invested in these projects that my client wanted to do. And some of them, of course, we actually took it to the next level with. And so I remember a few weeks ago, and it was yesterday. It seemed like it was yesterday, and it was a few weeks ago. It was the first week in December 3rd to be exact. Was it December 3rd or December 2nd? I want to say it was, I'm going to say December 3rd. And me and this guy was on the phone, the colleague who passed away. We were on the phone, and he has a pattern when he talks to people like myself, just to kind of pick my brain on a few things or whatever. But this pattern was, we talk about the business pertaining to the projects that we were working on. You know, he tells me where he's at with things. I tell him where I'm at with things. And we find some form of common ground to make sure that we do whatever we can to make our client see that we're working on it and that it matches with what he's visioning. It matches with his vision. And it doesn't even take that long. It's only maybe like a few minutes. We talk about what doesn't work, what needs to work, this, that, and the other. And then we will be done with that part of the conversation. And then he would go into his soapbox. And you heard me mention that term a lot because I tend to go into my soapbox a lot. He goes into his soapbox about just different things pertaining to life and society, and especially the plight of Black America. And this wasn't the first conversation we had. We had a couple of conversations surrounding just things that we both needed to get off of our chests, but he would initiate the conversation to talk about all these different subject matters. And anybody that knows me and knows me personally and professionally, I touch on so many subject matters that whoever I'm talking to or whatever, depending on our frequency or alignment with each other, we could find ourselves talking for hours and hours and hours. And in the real world, I don't have that much time because I'm doing so many things, but you get my drift. So our final conversation was about young people eating the wrong kinds of foods and how the foods that these young people are digesting or consuming into their bodies are making them dumb. And I'm like, interesting. I recall, speaking of the mental space, I recall a few years back when I was on the air at WAOK 1380, I remember doing an episode on food and mental health, and I invited a couple of gentlemen on the show. One of them, of course, is my brother at WRFG 89.3 FM. Shout out to Akhenaten. And we broke down why foods cause so many internal problems, both physically and mentally, to not just only young people, but to everybody, and how is messing up people's mental health. Is interfering in people's mental health. And it's like that classic saying, you are what you eat. The foods that we consume that has chemicals, that have all this stuff in there, can affect your mindset. It can affect your brain and your brain cells, and it does affect your moods and your behaviors. And we had a conversation surrounding that. But to fast forward to December 3rd with my conversation with my late colleague, he made me remember that episode I did a few years back, but I challenged him. And I said to him, well, I agree with what you said, but it doesn't start with the foods, because he was saying that it needs to start with the foods that young people, the youth, are eating. And I knew where he was going with in the conversation, but I challenged him. And I said to him, well, it doesn't start with the foods, respectfully. It doesn't start with the foods. It starts with what you see on the other side of my screen here, the media. Yes, I have my TV app on, but it starts with here. It starts with the media. And the reason why I made that argument to him in that conversation was that we're all on our phones every single day. We're in front of our TV screens, of course, this is a show. So obviously you watching this show on your phone or on your mobile device, wherever you are streaming this content from. And 90%, if not 99% of the stuff that is on television these days in front of our TV sets, in front of our eyes and everything, is poison. Distractions, poison. And it affects our mental health. So him and me started to have a debate, which felt like I was back on the air, but offline. This wasn't no public conversation. This wasn't the type of conversation for a podcast, even though it felt like a podcast, because or it felt like it was more so, and I jokingly said towards the end of our debate that it felt like I was on CNN or Fox with him. That's how the conversation slash debate was for 2 hours, and it took 2 hours for me and this guy to say our arguments, back it up with facts, have opinions behind them, and try to find a common ground in the conversation to where we can both agree on some things, but we can also agree to disagree. And towards the end of our debate and conversation, we came to a common ground to where we both agreed to disagree, but we agreed on a lot of things, or we were saying some of the same things, but in a different way. And I remember before I hung up the phone on this guy, we went back to talking about the business, because how he felt about my perspective and vice versa, it didn't matter as long as the business got handled. So we returned to the business, and I said to him, hey, I'm going to send you some stuff via WeTransfer. Can you check them out and see what you can do with them? He's like, yeah, sure, man. Send them over and I'll work on it and get back with you, yada, yada, yada. A few days passed, and I got a notification that the footage that I sent to him was downloaded. And I'm like, okay, great. He downloaded the footage. He's going to see what can he do with them, and he's going to get back to me. Cool. Days went by. Haven't heard back from him. I called, went straight to voicemail, left a message. I texted him. No word back from him. And I was like, okay. He's a very busy guy. He's working on things. He's doing other things and stuff. I'm going to let him relax, and he can get back to me when he can. But in the meantime, me and my client, we got to keep it moving. We got other stuff that we got to do. And days just went by, and I'm like, why I haven't heard back from him? And even I contacted my client and asked him, hey, have you heard from him? My client asked me, have I heard from him? And I was like, no. It's like, all right, I'll reach out to him again. And then December 23rd came, when I got the call from my client and informed me that the guy that we were working with on all these projects for almost a year now had recently passed away. I was totally numb. I was numb. I was in silence after I finished the phone call with him. I started calling a few of my support system people, my friends, and some of them didn't answer the phone right away or whatever. And I understood, because everybody got other stuff that they were doing at the time. And I just went out for a walk. And when I went out for a walk, which is also a part of my therapy, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, I just reflected on a lot of things. I didn't answer calls, just like what people are doing right now. People are texting me right now while I'm on the air. People were texting me, people were calling me, or the ones that I tried to call earlier called me back while I was walking, and I didn't answer. And it's not that I didn't want to talk to them. It's just that I needed to clear my head. I was devastated by the news that someone I literally just had a conversation with on December 3rd of this year, not last year, but of this year, a few weeks ago, passed away. Sorry about that, y'all. I stepped on something and knocked the light out. Sorry about that, y'all. All right, there we go. Mic check 1 2 1 2. We back. Therapy ain't no joke. And so I was just walking and walking and walking, and phones were ringing, text messages were coming in, and I just needed to just clear my head and just soak in on what just happened. And this is not the first time that somebody I knew passed away days ago, and just learning about it a few days later or even weeks later. This is not the first time. And it just makes me think of, man, like people that I just talked to or I just spoken with or whatever. It's like I text them, I call them, they're not answering. What is going on here? What is going on? Like, people are dying young. I'm 41 and I'm going to be 42 in January. That's next month. And I just keep hearing all these reports, and people that I knew personally didn't make it to 60 or 65, and it's hitting close home to me. And I'm just like, am I going to be next? Am I going to live to see 50? Am I going to live to see 80? Am I going to live to see 42? And my birthday is just in a few weeks. I'm going to be 42. And I'm very grateful and happy and blessed to live to see 41. But these past few days, I just kept asking myself, am I going to live to see 42? So like I said, I thought, am I going to live to see 50? Am I going to live to see 80? That was my thought process a year or two ago. But now it's, am I going to live to see 42? And what is even more daunting is, before I came on the airwaves and behind this mic, I also asked myself, is this going to be my last show? Is this going to be the very last episode of Therapy Ain't No Joke? Because I have more to give. I have more. And it's not just Therapy Ain't No Joke. It's the Beat Break Morning Show with DJ Rollum and Sharia Thomas, and all of my Reach One Communication personalities and staff, and everybody that has helped me build this thing for more than 10 years now. Like, am I gonna ever see them again? Am I ever going to communicate with them or talk to them? And not just even my Reach One Communications family, but people that I grew up with in the radio business since I was 19. From WRG to AM 1260 to WABE 90.1 FM and B103 and WAOK and Love 860 AM. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And then, of course, everybody knew about my story on how I attempted to commit suicide years ago. I shared that story. I shared the story of having suicidal thoughts, abusing alcohol, being isolated, being withdrawn from people. I've been very candid about those things over the years since the pandemic. Even some things that I went through personally. So I'm always like now asking myself, am I going to live to see 42? I have more work to do. Not just only doing this show, and I appreciate everybody that has taken something away from Therapy Ain't No Joke or the mental space. But I have more work to do outside of Therapy Ain't No Joke, like help pass laws to make it more accessible for people dealing with mental illness. More that we could do. Legislation, starting from the top in the workplace, there's more that we need to do. It's the holidays, y'all. It's Christmas Eve. Tomorrow is Christmas Day. And there are plenty of people, just like myself, that have lost a loved one. There's somebody out there who has lost a son, whether it's through natural causes, non-homicidal, or even homicide, and even suicide or accidental. Someone lost a son. Someone lost a daughter. Someone lost an auntie, an uncle, a nephew, a niece, a cousin, a sister, a brother, a grandmother, a grandfather, a caregiver, a guardian, a pillar in the community. Somebody lost somebody before Christmas Eve and even today. Somebody didn't wake up this morning. During this holiday season. And it's unfortunate. Especially when it comes to people you may have lost due to mental health issues or facing some type of mental health crisis. 2025 has been a very trying year. Not just only personally for me and for you, politically. Things have become more political than ever before because of the current political climate that we're in. But at the same time, in the midst of this political chaos, everything is still entertainment. At whose expense? Is it for me? Is it for you? And, I don't have to answer that right away. It's a hypothetical question. But everything is still entertaining. And a lot of people, whether they are podcasters, whether they are YouTubers, or even radio personalities, you name it, people, journalists, people working in the industry, are banking, capitalizing off of things that are not too much important. I want to ask everybody a question. And again, this is still a hypothetical question, but you can also comment in the comment section here because I am also on Instagram at Sean Garvey ATL and YouTube. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to our new YouTube channel, The Mental Space Show, in which our network is now called the Mental Space Network. But let me ask you all a question. Why are we still celebrity obsessed? Why are we still celebrity obsessed? Or let me put some emphasis on that question. Why are we still black celebrity obsessed? Because we don't agree, or we're not with their stance on who they representing and this, that, and the other, or what they done in the past and everything. Why? Why? You know, see, people like myself in the media, we're guilty of that. Because we want to talk about what everybody else is talking about. And, you know, we do it for the clicks, we do it for the likes, we do it for the views, we do it for the bag. But is it changing anything when we talk about these famous celebrities and these entertainers that chances are more than likely in our lifetime, we're never going to even see them in person? The only close we're going to get to them is watching them on the TV screen or seeing them on social media. Like, take, for example, this whole thing with Nicki Minaj. And I never and haven't talked much about Nicki Minaj in most of my dialogue or conversations. You know, I don't talk much about people like her from that world. I may have in the past reported a story or two about Nicki Minaj, which, of course, now that I think about it, I have. But why is talking about Nicki Minaj and her public conversation with Erica Kirk, the widow of Charlie Kirk, why we have so much energy in talking about that and about her switching sides? Usually I don't cuss on shows, especially coming from terrestrial radio. But fuck that. Fuck that. Not F Nicki Minaj or anybody that we obviously don't have an agreement with. But why is that so important for so many people, especially people in black media, to talk about that? Why? Because we're so celebrity obsessed and we're fans of Nicki Minaj. Like, how could she do that? Da 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 da. Okay. I know a lot of y'all are mad and y'all don't agree with what the president and the administration is currently doing and stuff like that. But how many of you all are involved? And this is another question. I'm just going to hit you all with questions. How many of you all are actually involved in the political process other than just going out and voting? Besides talking about it on these mics, how many of you all are going down to City Hall or to the Capitol? And I'm not talking about doing anything that's going to put you in jail or it's going to get you in trouble, but actually being involved in the political process. You know, are you all like signing up to go to these meetings and go to these places where you can meet these political figures in person and say, hey, can we set up an appointment to sit down and talk and have a conversation about what's going on? I voted for you. I put you in the position that you're in. But we as a registered voter or voters, we as registered voters, we need to do more. We need to do more, especially making mental health one of our top priorities in this country. But back to the whole celebrity thing. Yeah. The Nicki Minaj thing has helped the Diddy conversation for the past few weeks die down. Yes, of course, I gave my 2 cents and 50 cents just to sound kind of malicious there, but I dropped my cents on the 50 Cent Diddy documentary. And yes, folks, to this day, I still did not watch it. I'm never going to watch it. I'm never. But kudos to those that watched it, but I'm never going to watch that documentary. But that was the highlight of the water cooler conversations and the rants and the conversations that we have had on our podcast, on our shows and stuff for weeks and weeks and weeks. And then now another famous public figure that a lot of people, especially a lot of women, look up to, felt like this person betrayed us for whatever reason, to get her husband, to get somebody out of prison, or literally for the bag. For the bag. But there's more things on the table that can and need to be covered. But if we're going to stay on celebrity, let's talk about Tyler Chase. Does anybody know who Tyler Chase is? I'll give you a moment. Tyler Chase. Tylor Chase. Anybody know who he is? Feel free to put it in the comment section. You all got Google, you all got DuckDuckGo, you all got ChatGPT. You're trying to tell me y'all don't know who Tyler Chase is. Okay. Here's why. I'm going to tell you why you don't know who Tyler Chase is. Tyler Chase is a former child actor, well known for his role in a Nickelodeon show. I believe it's called Ned's Declassified. I'm going to say that again. Ned's Declassified. Now, I grew up on Nickelodeon, but I am a 1980s, 1990s Nickelodeon, not a 2000, 2014 Nickelodeon. I don't come from that era, just as a side note. But I have heard of the show. Never watched it, but I've heard of the show. It was reported over the past few days that Tyler Chase, as a former Nickelodeon kid star, was found homeless. I believe in California, somewhere in California. Yeah. He was found homeless in California. Someone obviously took a video of him, and that person made this former child star actor say his first, last name, who he is. And if you see him, if you were to see him now, he appears to look very unrecognizable, but also in distress, also in a state of confusion, dazed, strung out, if I can use that term freely. Strung out. And there have been people online that have commented and sent this individual comments in the comment section, all these things, from just showing their dismay at what happened, sending him well wishes, hoping he gets back on his feet soon. And that sparked more outrage, especially people in the entertainment industry. Some people in the entertainment industry go online, go on video and say, please help me find him. I think it was another former child star as well, who was in the movie The Mighty Ducks, went online and offered to help this young actor. who has succumbed to homelessness. Now, last time I checked, reports are saying that the former child star actor Tyler Chase was found, and someone has gave him, or allegedly gave him, some help after the viral video. Wow. That's enough to take in. I'm gonna let you digest that. Another question: why are we not talking about that enough? Why are we not talking about that enough? Oh, maybe because this former child star actor isn't Black. Or we have really gotten past the whole Nickelodeon scandal from 2023, 2024. We're done that. Now it's on to talking about Black celebrities that are doing all these things that we don't like and stuff. Now we're on that. We're on that timeline. But we're not talking enough about homeless people in America suffering, like Tyler Chase. Even like many former child actors and TV stars that also have succumbed to homelessness. And I'm going to let you know why that made me feel a certain type of way. Once upon a time, I was homeless. Not for a long time, not for months, but I too was homeless. And that's no place that anybody wants to be. So why are we not talking enough about that? But we get on these mics and we talk about Nicki Minaj and 50 Cent and all them. We put so much energy into these celebrities that don't care about your opinions, that don't care about my opinions, that don't care about your thoughts and your perspectives. But people are dying out here. People are dying from homelessness to mental health issues. And why isn't Black media covering all of this enough? Black media. I remember 20-some years ago, people were complaining that there wasn't enough positive Black shows and positive Black news, or Black news that talked about the issues that are really going on in our society. I remember people saying that 20-something years ago. Now that we got YouTube, the YouTube universe and all these different platforms and stuff, now we have access. And 90-something% of a lot that I'm seeing in the Black media universe is very sickening to me. And that's coming from a Black journalist. Which is one of the reasons why I'm thankful to have to go back to WRFG and be on a station outside of Reach One Communications, because I'm a terrestrial guy. Being on a station that's been around for 52, going on 53 years, and giving us a platform to report, to cover, and to talk about things that are not getting reported in mainstream media. And that's WRFG 89.3 FM in Atlanta, if you're unfamiliar. Public affair programming. Some people have asked me when I return to WRFG, hey man, you get in the bag over there, man. I know they probably gonna pay you more than your previous radio station, this, that, and the other, man. No, I don't get paid for doing this. I get paid for other things, but I don't get paid to be on the airwaves. I don't get paid for that. See, I love doing this. I love doing this. I love doing radio. I love doing radio. I love doing podcasts. I love doing all this. I was born to do this. I've been in this business for 23, 24 years. I've seen people advance in this business, and I've seen people go in this business. And whether I am still at a commercial radio station or not, I'm still going to survive in this business. See, radio and podcasts is my therapy. I do have a therapist, of course, but this is therapy to me in the sense of curating and creating a platform for others to speak, for others to have an access to speak when they can't go to other places, and to be a person who can provide solutions and insights and advice that others may not have shared or may have not thought about. And salute to all the people that have advanced in radio. I mean, like even this thing that's going on the internet with the new people being over at Hot 97, and now something came out saying that I don't know. I'm not going to speak on it so much or whatever, because it's somewhat confusing to me. But big ups to the 3 new people allegedly, and we're going to say allegedly being or has been reported of being the new host for Hot 97, maybe to replace the ones that were on in the morning show and what have you. And one of the people, speaking of V103 WOK, one of the people that is going on over to that station and has been seen and featured in that flyer, courtesy of Hot 97, or allegedly courtesy of Hot 97. One of them is Million. I think he goes by Million or Million. I'll call him Million. You've seen him in the flyer. I used to work with him at a previous radio station, so he has radio experience. I used to work with him. Shouts to Million. But in this business that I've been in and still in, I love doing it with or without a paycheck. And there have been times in my career that I got paid for being on the air and for my production work and working behind the scenes. But I'm going to tell you something. Sometimes the pay felt like I was working for those stations for free. True story. And there were times where it did affect my mental health. It really did. This is Therapy Ain't No Joke. I'm Sean Garvey. We're coming back next month, and we definitely want to invite you, if you are a new viewer, if you are a new watcher, to the show and to our channel, the Mental Space Network on YouTube. We encourage to invite you to come on and be vulnerable. Tell your story, tell your truth, share how you feel. Be vulnerable, especially during this time. And again, holiday season is here. There are people watching right now and dealing with something. And it may not even be death or someone's transition, but it's also being lonely around the holiday season. Not being in a relationship, not being married, not having a family, but just being alone and how it makes you feel. Tonight's topic is, let's talk about the holiday blues for a second. There are people, families, individuals that are feeling the holiday blues and may not know how to cope with it, may not know how to manage it. So what do you do when you are facing the holiday blues? What are some solutions? Find something fun to do. Go get a box set of puzzles. Put together a puzzle. Turn that into a hobby. If you haven't been to the gym a while, go to the gym. Do it on Christmas Eve. Don't wait until after New Year's. Don't say, yo, my New Year's resolution is I'm going back to the gym. You know, I'm going to get that Vin Diesel, Mark Wahlberg shape and this, that, or, you know, I'm going to look good like the women in the magazines with the bikinis and stuff like that. No, just go to the gym now. If you are alone and you haven't been to the gym in a long time, go to the gym. Channel all of that you have burden inside you and release it, flush it out. Go hiking. Well, I don't encourage people to do it at night, but during the daytime, you know, go hiking. Go to be one with nature and just reflect. You can do that by yourself. Go and create a tribe. Go build your community. Go make new friends. But do it carefully. Be cautious about that. If you have to pray, pray. If you have to meditate, meditate. Or you can do what is still on the billboard here, down there in the banner, above the ticker. Dial the crisis and suicide lifeline right now, 988. If you or someone you know is facing a mental health crisis, or if you just want to talk to somebody, call that number, dial that number right now, 988. And if you have a support system and you are still feeling alone during this holiday season, call one of your friends. Call one of your family members. Call somebody that you can confide in. Call them. Even if you haven't spoken to them in a long time, in a while, call them. And just say, hey, I just want to say Merry Christmas to you. And you haven't spoken in a while. Call them. And that's also for people who may have experienced a tragic loss, like I have. Yeah. Call that person. Talk to somebody. It doesn't have to be 988. It doesn't have to be the NAMI number that we posted on the screen not too long ago. But call one of your best friends. Call somebody and just talk to them. And go out with your friends. It's Christmas Eve or Christmas night. Go out with your friends. Do something that's going to bring you joy this holiday season. And also know that next year is going to be a better year. If you feel like this year just brought you a lot of trauma, a lot of baggage, a lot of stuff that became like rocks on your shoulder, and you have so much weight on your shoulder and you just don't know what to do, pray, meditate, or be in tune, be in touch with your own spirituality, and just turn the TV off. Turn your phones off, turn your social media off, turn your TV off. Just go and reflect and breathe and be to yourself, and just think about things on what you can do better in 2026 than in 2025. Be a better version of yourself, but go somewhere and think about that. You may not feel like you want to live to see New Year's Eve, but if you do that, you're never going to know what could have happened for you in 2026. You never know what 2026 is going to bring. Make 2026 better than 2025, but also have that mindset thinking that 2026 is going to be my year. It's going to be a great year. It's going to be a better year than 2025. Any baggage, any past relationships, any toxic behaviors and toxic people you've been around, leave them behind in 2025. You heard me again. I'm going to say it one more time. Leave it behind in 2025. And then get into your new mix in 2026. Make that your slogan. Make that like you're saying. You're going to go into 2026 with a new mix, or however you want to rhyme it, Or you could say something like, man, I'm going to be the ish in 2026, right? Leave the stuff behind in 2025, and I'm going to be the ish in 2026. And that one, ladies and gentlemen, is for free. By yours truly, Sean Garvey. This has been Therapy Ain't No Joke on this Christmas evening. I really appreciate you all for tuning in. I'm not going to stay long due to the Christmas holiday season. And again, big shout outs to my brother, Rasta. We definitely look forward to having him back on in 2026 for Therapy Ain't No Joke. And of course, in the meantime, between time, you can email us, thementalspaceshow@gmail.com. If you know somebody that is dealing with some form of mental health issue and wants to come on the show to express and to get help, make sure you send that person that email address that you see below your screen, thementalspaceshow@gmail.com. And don't forget to follow us again on social media. We got the Mental Space Live, and we also have the Mental Space Network. All right. All the information is on the ticket at the bottom of the screen there. And we really appreciate you guys for tuning in to Therapy Ain't No Joke. And I'm going to leave you with the contact information to reach out to somebody if you want to talk, like I just said, or for additional resources. Make sure you, one, contact the National Alliance for Mental Illness Helpline at 1-800-950-NAMI. That's 1-800-950-6264. Or you can send them an email to info@nami.org. That's info@nami.org. And you can also dial the Crisis and Suicide Lifeline, 988, if you or someone you know is facing a mental health crisis. Dial the Crisis and Suicide Lifeline at 988 if you or someone you know is facing a mental health crisis. Again, ladies and gentlemen, I am Sean Garvey, and thank you guys for tuning in to Therapy Ain't No Joke. And our thoughts and hearts go out to my colleague who has done some great work in the short amount of time I knew him. But I know that he is in a better place and that he has left a legacy that would not be tarnished. Until then, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for tuning in to Therapy Ain't No Joke, and we see you all in 2026. Have a good night.